Cross to let you know what their efforts are. Please save all of your questions until the end of the press conference. And without further ado, Sheriff Elder.
Good afternoon, everybody. Not a ton of change from this morning's briefing. We are still at 41,000 acres. We have some air resources that are dropping retardant on the south flank of this fire that we talked about this morning. We'll be checking that for stability on that flank. And I'm being told to take off my sunglasses, so I'll do that. Even though now I have to squint. We think we're making some pretty good headway. We are concerned about its continued movement to the north, and we'll keep working on that with some air resources from Fort Carson. So once again, I'd really like to thank Fort Carson for their continued push to help us, and so that's been a good thing. We do have two other structures that we've confirmed ignited early this morning and were destroyed. So anybody that is in the inside that evacuation area, you need to be very, very aware that that in the grasses, these fires continue to creep and they can still ignite a home. And so if you're in there, you need to be aware and be very, very diligent to take care of yourself if it gets on fire. We have a number of animals that have been injured. We've also evacuated a number of animals. It's still a highly volatile situation. We just a few minutes ago delegated authority to the state Type 2 team. They are now taking over incident command, and there's a high likelihood that we'll be moving the incident command post from this location east. And we're not sure exactly if we've got that lined up yet, but there's still a likelihood that we're going to move it to the east so that they can get a little bit closer to the actual fight of the fire. Outside of that, I'll go ahead and introduce Commissioner Darrell Glenn.
Well, thank you. And again, I just want to reassure people that we have executed the appropriate delegations of authority. And what that does, that gives us access to state and federal resources. Our goal right now is to make sure that we're providing all the necessary support structure around our first responders. For the people that are impacted by this fire, there's two resources that we want to provide you. The sheriff has a link on Ready, Set, Go on his website. Gives you great information to kind of gives you some tips to be able to prepare for this type of situation and what you need to do. And also you can call 719-575-8888, and that number is our Office of Emergency Management. That's also a link on our website to be able to give you some additional information if you've been impacted by this fire. Again, I just want to reassure people that we are going to get through this together as a community. We want to make sure people understand, use this opportunity to be able to prepare for an incident like this. We're heading into a very long fire season, so we just want to make sure people are aware of what we need to do. But rest assured, we're going to get through this.
Good afternoon. I'm Bill Fortune with the American Red Cross. It's been a busy couple of days for Colorado and Wyoming, and now Northwest Kansas, and our hearts are going out to those people that are being impacted by this. Your American Red Cross has been supporting pretty much all of the fire efforts with actually supporting the people affected by the fire efforts. We have our shelter is still open at Fountain Valley Baptist Church in Fountain. We also are providing cots and supplies at Hanover High School for the first responders so that some of them can maybe get a rest today and then get back into it later on today. So just a place for them to go and get some Z's. And we're also working with all of our partners. We have the Colorado Volunteer Organizations Active in Disaster. They've been activated and they're helping us out by hooking us up with different resources around the area. So when we do start the recovery effort, the Red Cross will be here along with a number of other agencies in the community, just like the fires we had a few weeks ago, and we'll be able to provide some additional support. At our shelter this afternoon, we'll have our caseworkers there, so if anyone is in need of support today, they can go to the shelter location and work with our caseworkers and find out what resources we have available for them for the next couple of days. whether it's housing at our shelter or what other support they might need. They can come and talk to us this afternoon. They'll be open until about 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Any questions?
Any containment?
You know, I'd venture we're probably 5 to 10%, probably no more than that right now. A lot is really driving what our wind conditions do this afternoon. We're really hoping for some significant moisture precipitation that'll help knock this down even further, but I would venture 5 to 10% at this point.
What are the conditions like right now, sir?
It's still hot and dry. Everything, the grasses are matted and tamped down. That allows the embers to get underneath and just creep along in the inside those matted grasses, and that's what our concern is with most of the remaining residences that we were actually able to save. Is that it creeps up underneath that matted down grass. So it's still hot and dry. We're still anticipating 40-mile-an-hour winds out of the south, and that's why we're taking some of the heavy air precautions that we are.
Is that matted grass one of the problems with the two houses that burned this morning?
Yes, yeah. That it was still creeping inside those matted grasses and that's a difficult spot to figure that out when it does that.
Where's it burning now?
Mainly to the north and east flank of the fire is the worst part, and it's still a pretty good burn in there. It's in open land, so it's easy to identify and it's easy to attack by air.
Can you talk about the terrain firefighters are facing specifically? I've heard somebody say we saw firefighters hitting sand and getting stuck.
Yeah, the soil that's burning is a lot like this, and so what's happening is we're trying to cut a fire line using motor dozers or motor graders along the southern flank. When they strip the grasses off the top of that soil, it just exposes a sandy layer of material, and it makes these heavy trucks that are laden with water and materials get stuck, and so we're a little hesitant in using that. That's why we're going to bring in some air resources and basically paint it with fire retardant to try and stop the fire that way.
Do you think you'll call in the super tanker?
No, you know, the problem is the super tanker is designed for more wooded structures. While it can lay down a lot of material all at one time, these three heavy air tankers that are coming in, they'll be able to paint it precisely where we want it, where the fire boss wants it, and then we'll be more comfortable.
Do you have any information on the schools evacuated right now, specifically Hanover Junior High and Senior High?
They were evacuated yesterday, and I think they held off school today. That is probably where Incident Command is going to move. Sometime tonight would be my guess. My first inclination is to say that starting the operational period at 0600 is when we will turn it over to a new incident command center at Hanover.
So is it 12 structures now or still?
12 structures is right now what we believe. We've got crews in the field right now doing an assessment on the exact number of homes that are engaged.
I think you already answered this, but just to be specific, yesterday we were in defensive mode. Are we offensive now?
Pretty much. We're as offensive as we're going to get at this point. We're trying to just stop it from being able to spread should these winds pick up. We've defended the structures that we think that were in danger at that point, and so we're about as offensive as we're going to get at this point, and just trying to keep it from spreading further.
In regards to the houses, are you guys going to be releasing the addresses?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure just yet. We might.
And when you say a total of 12 structures, do you have a breakdown, Sheriff, of how many of them are homes?
We believe they're all of the 12 that we're talking about are homes. There's a significant number of outbuildings that were damaged or destroyed beyond those 12 homes.
So would you say the main challenges for this afternoon are wind, and is there anything else really?
Not just wind. I think that we're working about as hard and as fast as we can to suppress the fire front. If we're successful on those two fire fronts, we'll have a much better handle on it. Once it cools down tonight, the wind stops again tonight, we'll have a much better look at it in the morning and know.
If the wind stays the way it's going now, is there any big fuel drivers ahead of it?
A lot of grass. I mean, it looks just like this all the way across. It is tall grasses for miles and miles and miles.
Where is it that they're getting the water from when they're coming to bring retardant?
There's the retardant is loaded in I believe in Pueblo is where the single load of retardant for these heavy tankers came from. It'll make one dump and then they'll be done. All three of them will make one drop. They'll be done. The Helitack, the aircraft from Fort Carson, they're using dip locations throughout the fire area that we've identified and made arrangements with homeowners to use those water supplies.
What about school tomorrow? Is there any plan for delays or cancellations?
You know, I think they canceled it, but I don't know that for sure. We'd have to check with Hanover schools, but I'm absolutely not positive. They may try and run them side by side.
And do you know what time the tanker drops will be?
It's possible that the three heavy tankers have already dropped. Yeah, we just need to get out and assess it once they do. Make sure that they had overlapped some of the greater lines that we were trying to set in. But I think they may have already dropped.
And what will change this afternoon with the Type 2 command in? Because you're still a big part of this, but
right.
It's kind of melding fires together under one command.
Yeah, I think what it does is it brings in a greater amount of control. It allows us greater resources. It also allows the state to take control of the fire and to cover all the cost. That's the big thing. El Paso County is still responsible for everything that is El Paso County, what our expenditures would normally be, but the state will now fund these. These aircraft are expensive to fly. The loads that they drop are expensive. The state covers all of that now, and so this is a way for us to stay conservative in how we do it, but to still actively engage the fire front.
When you say expensive, how expensive?
I can't tell you off the top of my head, but I can tell you it's not cheap. We're talking probably 30 grand so far this morning on just helicopter attack.
You just have one chopper?
No, we have 5 helicopters from Fort Carson, two Chinooks and 3 Blackhawks.
Any updates on livestock out there? Are they wandering all over there, or seen any that have been killed? We know.
We understand that there is some killed. We have cut fences. The first responders did cut fences to allow livestock to get away. We've got livestock crews out there that are trying to tend to that, and so it'll be a while before we know the actual answers. But it's easier for us, rather than to collect them in a fast-moving fire, is to give them a point to escape and to get into an area where they're safer. They're not going to go very far, and we'll be able to get them back once we can repair the fences. So.
Have the mandatory evacuation been changed since yesterday?
No, we still, it's still mandatory evacuations. Here's the thing, like I said before, it's not safe to be in there. It's just not safe. If you venture in there because you've got to go home, you want to check on livestock, just understand that these fires can creep up to that house without being seen. That's how we lost 2 this morning. I would just tell you, be vigilant. It's dangerous.
When it comes to the electrical grid, it was noticed that they were still active. Have they officially been turned off yet, or is it still in the process?
No, it's they're restoring electrical. We've got the electric company is out working on it. We've only got one area that the electric service was disconnected, and I believe they're in the process of restoring that now. Everything else is still up. Thank you very much. I'll let Jackie tell you when the next brief will be.
Okay, so thank you for coming. The next informational brief is yet to be determined, so please be watching our Twitter feed for the time. You will see a different incident command up here speaking to you this afternoon as they come in and we kind of fade into the background, for lack of a better term, but we'll be able to answer any of your questions. We just don't have what time that's going to be yet. So are there any questions for me?
Are we remaining here for now?
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.